Hi, I'm Lars. Welcome back to the shop. Today we're going to talk about dado blades. I don't think they get enough publicity, if you will. Dado blades are a really cool thing. If you needed to, say, notch this piece of wood here, like that, just put a little bit of a notch in it, all the way down, rip it all the way through to the other end, there's many ways to do it. You could take a router and do it. You could take a skill saw and do it, cut it a bunch of times. Or you could use what's called a dado blade. Now a dado blade, I'm going to pick up this little piece of paper here. A dado blade looks like this. Okay? It's got two exterior blades, which these are the exterior blades, that run separated. And then in between them, they have these little things called knives. Some of these are 1/8 inch knives, some of these are 16 inch knives, and you can stack them up in a star fashion, sort of like this, like this, to make them thicker or narrower, depending on what you need. So you would have these guys here in the middle, in between these two blades. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to put one of these on a table saw, and I'm going to show you a cut, just run something through it just to show you how it works. If you ever buy a dado blade set, this one's been in my family for a really long time. I think my father bought this maybe in the 70s. Okay, really old. But I do recommend reading all of the documentation on it. You want to know how to put whatever dado blade set you get, you want to know how to put them together. There's a variety of kinds of dado blade sets too. I think I have one around here somewhere. There's one that actually has a spring that leaves the bottom of two blades together, and it opens up like this to a different width. My dad has one of these, or he had one of these. I don't know where it is, but if I find it if I find it in the shop before I'm done recording this, I'll bring it out. But basically what it does is you turn this little armature inside, or you turn one of the blades, and they widen up at an angle, and then it removes the requirement to have these knives inside. I don't know if I really trust that one or not. Obviously I don't use it since I don't know where it's at. But these are not for, you just don't go in and go, oh, I'm just going to put a dado blade on and throw some knives in it and everything's going to be great. It is a dangerous tool, just like anything that has a sharp point on it is dangerous. And that's the one thing, you need to have the right respect for your tools before you go and just buy them and start using them, and without push blocks and stuff like that. One thing I was taught, and I've been cutting on a table saw for, wow, probably about 46 years now. And when I was taught at a young age, keep these bits away from the spinny, sharp, pointy bits on any kind of tool. That includes a drill, that includes sawzall or reciprocating saw, a miter box, a table saw, a skill saw. I don't care what it is, a jigsaw, keep your fingers away from it. So I'm going to do a quick instructional thing on how to set up a dado blade here real quick, and we'll move on from there, and then I'll make some cuts. All right. Right now, you're looking at the top view of my table saw. Now, this is a wood guard plate. The main thing that these do, these keep wood from falling down and beside here, but they also keep structure and strength on the side of a piece of wood being cut. Some of these are, I think this is about a 1/2 inch wide. because you know you can put up to 2 blades on here if you wanted to cut, you know, 1/4 inch strips. You can get these narrower, or you can make them yourself, which is what I did here for my dado blades. All right, so you just basically take this, draw it out, and then take a piece of 1/8 inch plywood, cut it out with a, you know, jigsaw so you can get something to fit in there, and then drill a hole at the end down here to put the screw back in. Try to keep this clean if you can. It's really hard to. Yeah, I know I've got a lot of sawdust down there, but I haven't done the video yet on making the dust collector. That's coming up. So, whenever you're taking a blade off, make sure you grab a piece of wood. I'll bring us forward a little bit. Grab a piece of wood and lock that blade in so it's not going to move. You might have a table saw. There might be a table saw out there. I don't know if there is or not, because I've had my table saw for 23 years and I'm not shopping table saws. This is a rip cut blade. This blade is a rip cut. It's got 28 teeth. The reason it's a rip cut is when you're cutting and it's spinning, you don't want a lot of teeth to be cut on a rip. Cross cut, 80 tooth, 60 tooth be great. Stay between 24 and say 32 for a rip cut. This digs the wood out and throws it really quick. Okay, so when you're cutting on a piece of wood, you've got grain going this way, right? This way you're cutting through the grain. This way you're cutting with the grain. So you want to get that grain out of the way as quickly as possible. If you don't believe me, just take some choice cuts. If you're burning the side of your wood, I don't have any around here, but if you burn the side of the wood, like your score marks from where, you know, the blade sat there, that means you got the wrong blade on. All right, so keep that in mind. All right, so dado blades. Every blade that you get, and it's really shiny, but every blade you get has a rotation. Make sure that rotation is going toward the front of the table saw. Usually whatever's printed goes to the left. That's just, you know, a guide. All right, these guys are there to cut up to 1/8 of an inch. So if I wanted to cut 1/8 of an inch, this would be this. But you notice this is wider than my saw, right? Not the entire thing. This is 1/8 of an inch, just the tip, and that's by convention. If I needed to cut 1/4 inch, I would just take 2 of these blades, or just take 2 blades in general, and put them together, and that would be 1/4 inch and would be done. But what I need to be doing today, we're going to cut an 1/2 inch. So we're going to throw a blade on here, a knife. Now you can't put this sitting up on top of here like this. See, it's rocking. So that cutter's got to be in the middle here. Okay, so this is 1/8, this is 1/4. I'm going to put a second knife on here and put it back here a little bit. All right, so that makes 3/8, and this will make 1/2. Now you try to keep all of these guys out of sync with each other. All right, so these 2 are not going to touch because there's a blade behind it, and these 2 are not going to touch because there's a blade, you know, there's just this knife up here. All right, and I'll show you here in a second. Let me get this on here. Okay, so I'm just going to finger tighten that. So as you can see, if I take the 1 inch mark on one side, that's a 1/2 inch. All right, totally 1/2 inch. So that's how you would set this up for a 1/2 inch. Now, in order to tighten this down, you need to, on my saw, I need to put a block back here, and then the bolt goes clockwise or toward the back of the saw, like this. Okay. You just want to get it, not, you don't have to be cranking this thing down like you're going to snap the arm off it or anything. But then you put your little board back in. And if you don't have one of these, at this point in time would be good, like if there was no hole here, that's okay. But you definitely need to make one of these or go buy one. I just make them, and then what I do is I do what's called a rising. So when you turn your saw on, you'll rise this up and it will cut its own hole, whatever you need to make. All right. Now, as I said before, when you're cutting with one of these, I'm just going to lift this up through here. You're not going to ever cut the whole height of the board. All right. So let me change the camera to the side here so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, one thing I want to point out here, I'm going to zoom in on this. Hopefully. All right. One thing I want to point out here, these blades are wider than the 1/8 inch, or this is the 1/8 inch back here. These are wider. They actually overlap when they cut, okay? The other blades. This gives you a smoother cut, not necessarily perfectly smooth, but even though the blade in the back is 1/8 inch, this is 3/16. Okay, so this tip is 3/16. These are both, the outside ones are both 1/8 of an inch, but the knives have 3/16 cutters on the front. It's supposed to be there to give you a smoother cut. I'm going to tell you it doesn't work that well. So if you're looking for something that needs to be a really smooth cut, I would strongly suggest using a router, because that will definitely give you a smoother cut. So put this. All right, so that's everything about a Dado blade set that you probably ever wanted to know about. Remember, if you're cutting ripping wood, blades that look like this, okay, they have like a sawtooth, real big sawtooth. Anything between 24 and 32 teeth is meant for ripping. When you start getting into your 60 teeth and 80 teeth, they're meant for crosscut. What they do is they try to eliminate the blowout on the backside of a piece of wood when you're doing a crosscut. If you're using a Dado blade, be very careful with it. Keep your fingers away from it. I know when people are cutting with it, they get used to, hey, I'm cutting a channel across the top and they're moving through it. Remember, that blade's coming out the back. All right, so when your hand gets to the back, get it out of the way, use a piece of wood. If your hand can be on the wood and move it, you know, that's all up to you, but blocks of wood are your friend. If you like the video, click like. Please subscribe to the channel, and hope to see you next time in the wood shop.